Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. I am going to be talking about why I keep my circle small, why I'm a loner by maybe society's standards, but I should be editing my try on haul right now, but I really want to talk about this because I just hung out with one of my friends and I just realized how much he meant to me and how comfortable I feel around him, and I just thought this would be an important topic to talk about because for a while I wanted friends just to fit in high school. I mean, it's like important to have a social life and it's like vital almost, and I would just hang out with people who I didn't have the right energy with and who I felt uncomfortable with, and like most things in my life, it got to the point where I would just have so much anxiety that I just couldn't take it and something had to change. This has happened with my like self-hatred, with my depression, where I'm just like, okay, this is the worst that it's ever going to be and I need to do something to change this. So I stopped hanging out with people who I didn't feel completely comfortable with, I didn't feel fully loved with, and that has made a very big difference in my life. And I'm gonna go ahead and say it's really, when you start to awaken, in a sense, it can be kind of lonely and hard to make friends, and sometimes you feel like you want to settle just so that you have something to do, or sometimes you just feel like you have to cut everyone out of your life because you don't understand. But I don't recommend that. I don't think that you have to just cut everyone out of your life just because they don't have the same morals as you. I mean, to a certain extent, but you don't have to just cut everyone out. You can try to teach people, try to help other people grow with you and teach them the things that you have learned and grow together. And that kind of leads into my next thing, is that I used to let people walk all over me and just kind of accept that's the way they were and that I wasn't comfortable with it, but I didn't say anything. But I've recently realized how beneficial it is to speak up, not only for myself, to stand up for myself and feel more comfortable, but also to help the other person grow. I'm very sensitive, so even if someone just speaks to me with a little bit of attitude when I don't deserve it, I will be sad for like days and it'll make me like not want to talk to that person ever again. But I realized if I just say something, the person will think about how they're speaking and be more conscious of that, how they're communicating with others as well, and it'll help them grow. And so that is something that I hope you guys implement into your lives, is like showing people that they're wrong in some cases, or just telling them how their actions are affecting you instead of just letting it slide, because it's a very fine line between just like going with the flow and not trying to push other people or change other people, and also like trying to help other people grow and standing up for yourself and your own being. You can kind of feel the situation out and feel when you need to like speak up for yourself and things like that, but that has really helped. Like, I've just been like, dude, I'm very sensitive, and once again, it got to the point where I was like crying because someone like yelled at me for something dumb, and I was like, you really can't speak to me that way. And they were like, I'm sorry, I really didn't know that you were like that, I didn't know that you were sensitive. And I was like, regardless of the fact that I'm sensitive, you should be conscious of how you're communicating with people and just not be hateful or angry when the other person isn't coming at you from a place of anger. Speaking up is very important. I guess this video is just a little bit of like lessons that I have learned that I'm trying to share with you. Like I said, it can be very lonely when you start learning about spirituality and start realizing where your energy is and how you want to talk to people, how you want your interactions to be. You know, you don't want to spend all day gossiping about someone or talking about clothes, and you want to actually talk about things that matter to you. That's hard when you're in high school, to find people who aren't sucked into the matrix of all the expectation and all these standards that are going on in high school, like whatever the hell everyone else is doing. It's hard to find people who aren't conforming to that, but it's so much more worth it to just be alone and not have friends and to just feel so fulfilled. And you can find peace alone, like so much peace, and you can learn. And what I recommend during a time of just not having friends, which was a lot of my high school experience, like when I first moved for like 2 years I didn't really have friends, and then junior and senior year I had friends, but at the end of senior year, like midway through, I lost all my friends and only had my boyfriend, so I was like just very, very alone. During this time, you can just work on yourself and learn. Like, you don't have to be selfish with your time because no one's trying to make plans with you. You can just do whatever you want all the time. You can read, you can film, you can write, you can paint, you can just go outside and spend time with yourself. I think reading really helped me to not be lonely, because I would just make friends with the characters in my books, or I would learn from them, or I would learn new words, which was always exciting. And I got to write, and writing was another really big positive coping method in my life. for depression, but also just for loneliness, to just write everything out and to feel comfortable sharing my thoughts with something, even if it was just a journal, a piece of paper, and myself. It really helped me accept myself and accept my thoughts and my mind where it was in the moment. Other things that you can do to reach out and make friends is to join clubs. Those are really awesome. I joined fashion club and meditation club, yoga club. I did dance for a little bit, but I didn't really like the dances that they were doing, so I stopped doing that. But it is really fun to find common interests, and also not to like try so hard and like push the friendship so hard. Just kind of let things happen naturally once you do start putting yourself out there in that way. For vegans, I know there are a lot of people who go vegan and they start to feel judged, and that's very surprising to me that people aren't accepted for like making a better, more ethical choice in life. But in that case, to find other people who are vegan, you can use the app Vegan Amino. They have a bunch of communities and chat groups where hopefully you can find other people in your area who have the app, and you can make plans with them to have lunch or dinner or whatever at a cool vegan spot or have a picnic. It's a really great app. This isn't sponsored, but that was just a really good, helpful thing that I used, a tool, if you will. And there are also groups on Facebook, and there are book clubs on Facebook. You can find a lot online, which is the beauty of the internet, even though there are a lot of negatives to it, but I see more so the positive side. You can just basically put yourself out there, invest time into yourself and your interests, and don't feel selfish about it, because, you know, you don't have friends. And then put yourself out there once you feel like fully yourself, and once you fully accept yourself and are ready to find people who will also accept you as you are and not make you feel anxious or uncomfortable. Then you can go out and present yourself to the world. This is me. This is what I like. If you fuck with this, then let's meet up, you know? When I first moved to New York, it was also hard to find people who had the same energy as me, and it got very exhausting, like meeting up with people. And this is when I was kind of forcing it, just kind of like hitting anyone up who lived in New York and just DMing them and be like, hey, like, let's hang out, you live in New York, let's do something. And then it just felt like I was suffering through like a dinner or through a lunch or like a 10-hour period of hanging out, not 10 hour, like a 5-hour hangout, and I would just be like so unfulfilled in the interaction. But it doesn't have to be that way. And so I became a loner once again for I think like 5 months. I have 2 friends. I have more than 2 friends, but I had 2 friends at the time who were very close to me, and they lived in Maryland, and so I hung out with them every now and then, but I was living in New York, so I was alone a lot of the time. What did I do? I filmed YouTube videos, I thrifted, I met cool people at poetry slams and thrift stores and vegan restaurants, and I just felt comfortable in myself because I felt fulfilled in what I was doing day to day, and it made me very happy. And it's so much easier to reach out and talk to people when you're happy and satisfied. You just kind of want to share your lightness and your happiness with everyone else, and it's easy to be like, hey, how are you today? Hope you had an amazing day. I had a great day too. And to just reach out and be kind and start conversation. And I'm really good at that when I'm happy, and when I'm sad, it's like the complete opposite thing. So I think being alone can be very beneficial to self-love, because you're not really being judged by anyone but yourself, which is actually a whole other thing, because we are definitely our hardest critics. When I stopped giving a fuck what everyone else thought about me, the hardest part was loving myself. Like, for a while, what really hurt me was everyone else's judgment of me, and when I cut that out and stopped seeing that, stopped noticing or acknowledging that, I started to realize that my biggest enemy was myself, and that the biggest person who judges me is myself, and that was like the next thing that I really had to cope with, and I'm still doing that. But I think that the biggest trigger for me as far as accepting myself is like society standards and what I see online and comments and things like that. But when I'm alone, I'm just like in my own happy bubble, and I love what I do and I understand myself, so it's really great. And I just want you to see being alone as a positive thing and not to be embarrassed by it, especially if you're in high school. I've mentioned this before, but the norms of your high school will be completely different at some other school. Like, what is so cool and acceptable in your school will be so not okay in another school. Like, you may be like the biggest hoe in your school if people like to slut shame you or whatever, because let's say you had sex with one guy and no one's having sex, and then you go to another school and you'll be called prude because everyone else is just, you know, sleeping with someone every night, or everyone else is hooking up or whatever. That's just another thing, and that's a really weird example, but people's opinions of you just really don't matter at the end of the day. And like, the other day, I wrote that down. I was looking through my journal and I wrote that down a while ago, and I was like, oh yeah, like, no one's opinion of me should affect me at all. The only thing that will affect me is if I acknowledge that and if I care about it. Like, I'm choosing whether or not someone else's judgment of me will matter, and I can just choose not to and choose to only see myself as I really am. Anything else? Let me just think really quick. Eventually, you will attract the right people into your life by being whole and complete and just radiating and expressing your love and your interest. I promise you those people will gravitate towards you. That's exactly what happened to me. And as you get older, and as a lot of people get older, you start to realize that they just have less friends. And I think it's because people are just honest and they don't want to waste their precious time in their life with people who they don't really love. You know, everyone who's in my life, I can genuinely say I love them. Even if I just met them, even if we don't hang out that often, I love that person and I feel it, and that's why I want to be in their presence. So it's definitely worth it to just be lonely for a little bit and meet the right people. And it doesn't even have to be considered loneliness. It's just you doing your own thing and spending time with yourself, and it's not a big deal. Just kind of what comes with being an individual sometimes is not being accepted by the mass majority of people around you, and I think that's amazing. I think it's boring to fit in. I spent so much time alone. I spend so much time alone, and sometimes I feel like I'm going crazy. So in that case, if that is ever your problem, I hope that you have at least one landline, one person to reach out to, you know, phone a friend, text a friend. For me, I can't text, I can't be on social media, like, that's not the way that I can communicate with people and keep in touch, but I'll FaceTime or have a call or something like that, and that is my go-to if I'm ever starting to feel like too alone, too crazy, because sometimes the time to yourself can be very addicting and be so comfortable that you don't want to leave that you don't want to go outside and meet new people. But once you start doing it, it'll get easier and easier. Like, I think today I spent most of the day at home, and I mean, I walked around my neighborhood, I did my errands, but I was alone most of the day, and I was just kind of feeling a little bit lonely, and my friend asked me, hey, do you want to hang out and pick out some fabric with me and get some food or something? And I was like, yeah, and I was feeling kind of anxious and weird going, and then I hung out with him, and I was like, I love this so much. Thank you for getting me out of the house and being my human interaction of the day, because I hadn't spoken to an actual human besides the people who I was like seeing at the fabric store or running errands, you know, workers and employees. So it was really nice to like have someone to get me out of the house and get me to live life and explore New York a little bit. So I think it's important to at least have one person that you can talk to and who understands you. And if you don't have that yet, try your parents, try your siblings, your cousins. There are people all around who do love you, hopefully. I'm sure that there are, and who you can kind of lean on a little bit. Even if you don't have like close, cool, young friends who are your age, you can still lean on people to not feel alone, because it can get that way sometimes, and I completely understand that because it happens to me all the time. And sometimes like I get trapped in my apartment, I literally can't leave, and this is strange, but I do this weird thing every time I leave the house where I check if the oven and the stove is off 5 million times. I will check it, know that it's off, lock my door, and then come back inside, and I'll do this 5 times over and over again to make sure that the oven is off. And I told my therapist, I was just, why do I do this? Why do I keep checking the oven even though I know it's off? And she told me that it was me trying to control my anxiety about leaving the house, because most people would turn off the oven and know that it's off and be able to leave. But me, even if I didn't even use the oven for like 2 days straight, or the stove, I will still go there into my kitchen and check it. I'll turn it on just to see what it looks like on, and then turn it off again to make sure it's off. And it's not just me trying to make sure my house won't burn down, it's me trying to control my anxiety just about leaving, about the world being scary outside. So that's why it's kind of important for me to have like at least a few people who will make sure that I get out of the house and make sure that I like stay productive and do everything that I need to do. It's great to spend time alone because you can learn so much in this time, and you can just explore yourself and explore your mind, but it's also really nice to have someone to share your lessons with. You know, when you read a new thing and you feel very enlightened, or you have a thought or a realization, it's really, really nice to have someone to talk to for that. And for a while, I saw my alone time as so productive that I really didn't hang out with anyone. And it would be like 3 weeks, let's say, that I hadn't hung out with anyone. And I talked to Imani and I shared everything with her that I had learned. And I realized, wow, okay, it's really important to have at least one spiritual buddy or one person who you really love, who at least is open to understanding and listening to you. And it feels so enlightening just to have someone who understands to talk to and share your thoughts and your lessons with. So yeah, even if you're alone, at least have that one person, that one buddy. But I'm almost done with this journal, which is really exciting. Okay, it's a little bit of a wrap. I'm not saying it's good, but I feel like the concept is good. I kind of want to get into like more rappy, rhymey kind of poems. So here we motherfucking go. In the trees is where I want to be. That's what I think of when I think of free. Being totally comfortable expressing me. Not living a life where I have to flee. Get at me. My name's Hitomi. Let me open your eyes. There's no need to try. Meditate. Get high. Naturally. I'll show you how to fly. As long as you're kind, you can be my ride or die. Be my partner in crime. Live out this crazy life. You don't have to be alone, just be spiritually grown. Love, I'll set the tone. No need to be a clone, there's a whole world to be shown. Let go of the fear, it's okay if you're queer. I accept you, I'll try not to neglect you. I'll respect you. Fuck being cool. Weird kids rule, be fully yourself, but what is the self? I'm not generic, don't belong on no shelf. Focusing on self-help, no I'm not a sheep. All my lessons I keep and try to teach. Love is in the revolution. Yeah, that's my final conclusion. When you're woke, sometimes it feels like you're in seclusion, but I promise you're not. Knowledge is power. Try not to get shot when you open your eyes. Yeah, I know it's a lot and you might get mocked. Pay no attention and they'll be shocked. You're so much more. Love is at the core. I'm hella sensitive. It is what it is. Everyone is my kid. And baby, I love you so much. You can look, don't touch. Get to know the real me. And that's what I have so far. I just want to share with you. I don't know if it's good. Don't be afraid. Be woke as fuck. It's okay. It can be lonely. When it comes to non-attachment, that can definitely happen, like the loneliness aspect, because there are so many other people who put meaning into external objects and things that can fade and change, like their appearance or different situations, and it's not stable, it's not safe, I feel like, and that's why people just get so worked up over everything, because they have attachment to an expectation or a certain thing, and when that thing changes, their whole world goes crazy. So when you are ready to go with the flow, if you're ready to accept that things will constantly be changing and you can't truly predict or plan everything out in your life to a T, then it can almost feel lonely because you are the only one, or yeah, basically just the fact that you're the only one, because it is very liberating to just be okay with change. It's like the most freeing feeling. That's another thing with like standing up for yourself. Is my friend was in a relationship with this guy who was kind of controlling, and I was like, you should really just stand up to him and let him know that he's being this way, because it'll help his spiritual growth to realize that this relationship isn't going to stay how it is, and that things are going to change, and that you're two separate people. And I think it is possible for people to change. I have changed so much in my life in positive and negative ways, but it is possible to change people and impact their lives positively and make such a lasting difference. Especially in relationships, it gets so easy to kind of start growing in a negative direction and not positively influencing each other. But when you kind of call each other out on each other's shit in a positive way and say, hey man, like, this is hurtful to me, or this is hurtful to yourself, like, you really, I want you to be more conscious of this because I love you and I care about you, and yada yada yada, like, it'll help them grow. And I think that's what we're all here to do, is just walk each other home, is to just bring each other up and to make this life a little bit easier and a little bit more full of love and happiness. So I sound like such a fucking hippie. I'm really not trying to, but it's true. So I just wanted to share why I'm a loner, just because you guys know I'm very, very sensitive, and it got to the point where I just couldn't be with people who weren't sensitive to my sensitivity, weren't aware of how I need to be treated. And people are rude to me all the time, people who I don't know, and I don't care when like strangers are rude to me or employees at places. You know, I get sassed all the time from New Yorkers. I get a lot of kind, amazing people that I meet all the time, but I do get the occasional sass and rudeness unexpectedly and unnecessarily. and I just kind of laugh and I'm like, I don't know where this is coming from, but I didn't attack you, so I'm just going to brush it off my shoulder. But overall, spend time with yourself, really enjoy it. My time with myself has been the time where I have really learned to love myself. And there's this poem by Rupi Kaur that goes, "Loneliness is a sign you are in desperate need of yourself." And that really, really stuck with me because when I was younger, I was alone a lot as well, and I would do so much stuff. I would do so much creation. I would change my room around. I would freaking hang butterflies from the ceiling. I would create so much stuff. I made like a 5-story dollhouse out of cardboard boxes and construction paper and all these different things, pipe cleaners, and it was really fun, and I did that a lot as I got older. And then when I got to high school and I moved to Maryland, I started hanging out with all these people who I didn't really, mesh very well with, and I got a boyfriend, and I stopped doing all these things and I started relying on other people to feel fulfilled and happy and satisfied. And then when I lost all my friends, I was alone and I felt uncomfortable with it, and I would sit in my room doing nothing, and I was like, wait, what changed? Like, I used to be alone all the time and it was the best thing ever. What is the difference? And I realized that I wasn't connected with myself and I wasn't doing much that I loved, and that's when things started to change and I went back to being creative. And anytime that I feel lonely or bored, I think of all the stuff that I want to do and improve on, and then I'll go create a bra for eForce, or I'll practice my guitar, or I'll like write some poetry. There's just so much that I really love to do, and I feel like we all have little passions that we love to do, and sometimes when we're so overwhelmed by life, we're like, damn, I wish I could just read this book right now, and we think of all the stuff we'd rather be doing, and then when we have our free time, we just sit there doing nothing like, I'm so bored, and we forget about all the stuff that we wished we had time to do. So there's so much to explore in this life. There's so many fun things that you can do and find interest in, new hobbies, old hobbies, new borders that you can push, and new things that you can try. Loneliness is quite another matter, but having hobbies definitely helps, and not only to like fill your time, but also to like meet other people while you're practicing those hobbies. But yeah, that's kind of my advice. I don't know if that was even advice, kind of like a rant or a ramble. Sorry if it was a bit much, but I'm just excited. It's midnight and I have to film or finish filming my try-on haul. That will be up in a few hours. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for sharing with me your day. Someone commented on my Thrift With Me video about their day, how they just spent time with themselves, wore a really cool outfit, went to a park, and had the best time ever. And it was so nice to read that. I love hearing about people just being happy. So if you had an amazing day, let me know what you did and what you wore and how you felt and why today was special. Let me know that down below. It'll make me so happy, and I would really love to hear that. I want everyone to be happy. Everyone deserves that. Yeah, I would just love for you to share. I love you so much, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!